Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
We're in secondary education. So I think we are on secondary education. So I was talking about the compulsory education that the public schools are being offered to, especially to the poor ones. So during way back 2013, when the K to 12 was being implemented, um, the most of the public schools are not K to 12 ready. So what the government did was they, and most of the private school rather, are prepared. So what they did was they do offered a voucher program wherein these poor people are given cash assistance that will be given to the private school as the cash assistance as a payment for the tuition fees. So courses in junior high mainly include Filipino, English, mathematics, natural sciences, social sciences, sports, and arts, with English being the main teaching language. So, students interested in Tibet may start to explore the technical and livelihood education or the TLE courses from grade 7 or 8 and may select this direction at their junior high. So, at their senior high rather. So the senior high covers 2 years from grades 11 to 12, most likely from age 16 to 18. So before enrolling, the students choose a specialization. So for academic track, there are four academic tracks. We have the UMS, we have the ABM, we have the STEM, and the GAS. So there is a certain correlation between the technical, vocational, and livelihood track. So at the high school level, the students who have completed the TLE courses and passed a vocational certificate test of the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or the TESTA, can also acquire a National Vocational Qualification Certificate. So I forgot to mention also the tracks that the TVL are offering. They have plenty kasi. So what I'm familiar with are the bread and pastry. We also have the caregiving, um, the food processing, EIM, or the electrical installation and maintenance, and so on. So now let's proceed to the higher education. So the higher education of the Philippines is regulated by Commission in Higher Education, or the CHED, and universities provide students with academic education from undergraduate to the graduate level, conferring bachelor, masteral, and doctoral degrees. So now let's proceed to the Tibet in the Philippines. So recent years has been rapid development of Tibet in the Philippines. So imagine from 2000 to year 2016, the number of students in Tibet increased by 395%. So that's almost times four. So from the exact figure was 574,017 to 2,270,000. So graduation rate from Tibet also increased substantially from 83% in 2010 to 95% in year 2016. So in 2016, totally 2,269,669 students were registered for Tibet in the Philippines, and 2,151,236 students graduated. So meaning to say, not all students who were registered to Tibet in the Philippines were able to graduate. So let us now proceed to the four types of Tibet in the Philippines, wherein we have school-based Tibet, we also have center-based TVET. We also have community-based TVET and the enterprise-based TVET. So by sources of funding, the TVET institution can be classified into public institutions and the private TVET institutions. So we have public and private. So according to the length of education, the TVET programs can be classified. Wait lang. I will just explain in detail later on. I have a slide for this. So let us now proceed first to the length of education that the TVET programs can be classified into. So they are the following. We have the short-term programs, which covers within 3 months, meaning to say 3 months as the maximum time limit. And for the midterm programs, we have 3 to 9 months. And for the long-term programs, we have 1 to 3 years.
Right.
So next, I have here a sample of Tibet institution in the Philippines. For school-based Tibet, we have TESTA schools, the private and technical vocational school, institutions of higher education. For center-based Tibet, we have TESDA regional training centers, TESDA provincial training centers, and other government agency. So for community-based Tibet, we have community training and employment centers, the non-government organizations, the local government units or the LGU, the government agency projects, and for the enterprise-based Tibet, we have apprenticeship, workplace-based Tibet training programs, and the dual training programs that Sir was mentioning the last time. So let us now first focus on what is school-based Tibet. So sorry. So school-based TVETs in the Philippines include short-term, mid-term, and long-term. So of which program also long-term programs, while short-term and mid-term programs account for a small part. So they do focus more on the long-term program with time with a minimum time of 1 year and 3 years is the maximum. So long-term Tibet programs provided by the Tibet schools may be classified into 1 year to 2 year and 3 year programs. So different schools offer certificate programs and diploma programs based on their respective orientation. Of course, if it's caregiving, then it's for caregiving. And then now let's proceed to the Tibet schools. This is under the school-based Tibet. So for Tibet schools, based on the sources of funding, Tibet schools in the Philippines have two types, namely public and private schools. So except for schools directly affiliated to the TESTA, which are public schools, over 90% of the Tibet schools are private ones. So if you're going to talk about the percentage, mas marami pa rin ang private schools that offer the Tibet programs compared to the public schools. So um, I have here a table wherein this is a school from Baguio City that is offering Tibet programs. So this is Baguio City School of Arts and Trades Tibet program. So they have diploma programs that offers 2 year diploma in culinary. They also have certificate programs, which includes bread and pastry, NC2 that will only last for 20 days, bartering NC2 for 36 days, the food and beverage services NC2 for 42 days, the housekeeping NC2 for 55 days, the cookery NC2 for 40 days, and front office services NC2 for 55 days. Barista NC2 22 days, and for the trainers methodology, development course and skills upgrading, mas higher level to compared to na mga NC2. If you have an NC, then you can proceed to trainers methodology course wherein you can be a registered trainer and assessor. So they also have commercial cooking NC3 for 30 days and food and beverage services NC3 for 30 days. So another table here, we have the Kabasalan Institute of Technology. This is a long-term Tibet programs wherein they have the 2-year certificate in automotive technology, so automotive servicing NC1, automotive servicing NC2, automotive servicing NC3, driving NC2, motorcycle or small engine servicing NC2. For 2-year certificate in civil construction technology, they have carpentry NC2, EIM NC2, masonry NC2, and plumbing NC2. So for their 1-year certificate in electronics technology, computer system servicing NC2, and electronics product assembly and servicing NC2. So another 1-year certificate in garments technology, they have dressmaking NC2 and tailoring NC2. So still under school-based Tibet, we have Tibet programs in universities. So many universities in the Philippines, besides providing higher education, also offer Tibet programs as well as vocational course training certificate by the TESDA. Some bachelor programs and diploma programs of universities are exploring the mode of ladderized training to offer Tibet and academic education to students at different stages of their study. So in their 4-year bachelor program, for example, so of the mode of ladderized training, the first year is mainly dedicated to vocational training. So, and at the end of the year, students may attend a test certificate test to acquire a national certificate. Then the education in the following 3 years integrate academic education and Tibet. So upon graduation, student can acquire a bachelor degree and a degree. I mean a bachelor's diploma and a degree. So the bachelor programs in the ladderized training mode are available in agricultural engineering. So while participating in occupational training, the students also study at the same time the academic courses. So the undergraduate level and acquire a bachelor degrees upon graduation. So sorry. So I have here table 7.4. This is the Ilocos Sur Polytechnic State College at the Santa Maria campus. These are the Tibet programs that they do offer. So for Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Engineering, they have 1-year certificate in Agricultural Building Construction Technology. For Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, they have this 2-year certificate of Agricultural Science. For Bachelor of Science in Information Technology, they have the 1-year certificate in PC Operation. So for Bachelor of Science in Hospitality Management, certificate in housekeeping, certificate in tour guiding, certificate in commercial cooking, certificate in front office management, certificate in food and beverage service, certificate in bartending, and certificate in pastry production. Now let's proceed to the center-based Tibet. For the center-based Tibet in the Philippines, it mainly offers short-term and mid-term courses. So, meaning to say, wala siyang long-term courses. So, only the mid-term that caters from 3 to 6 months only. So, generally not exceeding 1 year. So, the regional training centers provincial training centers. So there's two type of centers under center-based Tibet. We have the regional training centers and the provincial. So compared with the regional training centers, the provincial training centers are smaller and provide fewer training programs and contents. So why is that so? Um, well, most likely, siguro, when you speak of the regional training centers, we are much more equipped with the facilities, and also andyan lang lahat ng kailangan. And also the population, they do also consider the population mas maraming student or learner who will be demanding the kind of training that the TESTA is offering. And for provincial training center, well, definitely smaller ang population, so most likely fewer din ang offerings of the Tibet programs. So I have here a sample of the training program that is um, a regional training center. This is the Talisay Training Center training program. As you can see, they have 12 programs. So for the next slide, we have the provincial training center. They do only have 5. So this is an example of provincial Tibet program. So now let's proceed to the some of the training centers also that are not subject to TESA supervision. Kasi there are government institutions kasi, wait lang, where am I? There are other government institutions that provide similar Tibet services, but these institutions have little cooperation with the TESTA. So, and its training programs alone. So therefore, the training programs are not subject to the TESTA supervision or the management. So these training centers includes the National Maritime Polytechnic, the NMP. We also have the Metal Industries Research and Development Center, the Philippine Textile Research Institute, the Construction Manpower Development Foundation, the Philippine Trade Training Center, the Cottage Industry Technology Center, the Department of Social Welfare and Development. So next we have the community-based Tibet. So community-based Tibet is an informal form of education in the Philippines. So mainly it is dedicated to the training of vocational skills, and the targets of training are mainly poor people and marginal groups, such as when we say poor people and marginal groups, these are the young school leavers. So ako mga were unable to continue in finishing their studies, maybe because of financial constraints, or they have to, for example, they have to watch their siblings at home, so they decided to stop. Also for unemployment adults. So most community-based training programs are mainly based on local demands and resources. So providing the trainees with some basic vocational skills, these public programs aims to help the marginal groups, the young school leavers and unemployed ones. So it increased their employment opportunities. Of course, if they have a new skilled knowledge that is being gained, then there is a tendency that they will be given the opportunity to work. So also also support local government's assistance of poor people to engage in productive work, thus promoting community development. So the community-based event has 4 different types of education that provides education providers, we have community training and employment centers. We also have the NGOs, the local governments, and the government organs. Now let's proceed to the last one, the enterprise-based vet. So there are three training modalities being implemented there in partnership with the companies or establishments. So these are, we have apprenticeship program, we have learnership program, and the dual training system or the DTS. So the enterprise-based vet aims to combine the training at workplaces and theoretical teaching at schools. So it is a combination of training at the enterprise and providing, giving them the information, the knowledge in the campus. So course systems are established according to enterprise. The talent demands to train qualified talents, meeting the enterprise demands. So it depends if what does the enterprises that are registered to TVET programs, it depends if what is their demand. So now let's proceed to in discussing what apprenticeship program is. So it is a mode of Tibet implemented through enterprises providing apprenticeship positions, and the length of study for apprenticeship training in the Philippines is 4 months at the shortest and 6 months at the longest. So still short-term and mid-term program. So only enterprises, as I was mentioning a while ago, only enterprises whose apprenticeship programs are approved, um, are approved, can employ apprentices. So this kind of training, it aims to provide a mechanism to ensure that the training of the qualified technical workers meeting the needs of the industries and the enterprises. So dapat align siya in meeting the needs of the industries. So it also aims to provide well-trained, skilled talents by the participation of the employers, the workers also, the government, and as well as the NGO to establish state apprenticeship programs and develop standards for apprenticeship training. So next we have still under enterprise-based Tibet, the learnership program. So it is an in-service training program. The length of the study generally does not exceed 6 months. And trainees may be employed by the enterprise after passing periodical assessment and acquiring a qualification certificate. So only enterprises approved by and registered with the TESTA can recruit trainees. So what is good about the learnership program is that they could, after the training, if the learner was able to pass the qualification certificate, so they could entirely hire the learner and for the learner to be employed in the enterprise. So now we have the third one, the dual training system or the DTS. Is another form of enterprise-based event in the Philippines. So trainees study alternatively training study alternatively between a training center or the school and an enterprise for a period of 1.5 years to 2 years. So by close cooperation between the enterprises and of course the vocational schools, the appropriate employees are provided to the enterprises. So the advantage of the dual system training is that the apprentices, these are the learners actually, may shift between enterprise practices and the school study, which actually promote each other if they will be shifting from enterprise and with the school. So meanwhile, for such training, it helps enterprise to improve workers' skills, work efficiently and quality, and actually save production costs. Why save production costs? Kasi they're gonna undergo apprenticeship program naman without paying the nawala ako, sir.
Yeah,
Oh,
medyo choppy kasi kanina na
sorry.
putol-putol.
Opo.
Sige.
Am I done explaining, sir, the learnership program? I think we're in dual system.
Yeah, you're done. Sige, let's have the DTS.
Okay, so going back to the dual training system, I was mentioning about um, the dual system training can actually help the students to be familiar with reducing the sense of unfamiliarity with complex equipment and facilities, and maximize the use of equipment and facilities and provide good employment opportunities for graduates. So why did I say so that the enterprises could help the students to be familiar with the equipment and facilities? Because reality-wise, diba, most of the public schools actually offering the Tibet program, we do have limited resources. We do have limited equipment. So if they're being faced or if they're gonna being undergo training in the enterprises, they will be exposed to the maybe much more updated facilities. So they will be exposed and be familiar with the facilities that the enterprises has. So parang hindi sila ignorante in that sense. So next we have the Tibet governance in the Philippines. So according to the law on technical education and skills development, the Philippine government established the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or the TESTA, in 1994. So, as a special government agency for supervising and managing TVET in the Philippines, um, so the TESDA really plays an important role in establishing the standards and the systems. And they do provide also policy guidance, also preparing the development plans and regulating training organizations for Tibet in the Philippines. And besides, the TESDA also cooperates with the Philippine government enterprises and the training organizations in order to provide society with the industrial information and support young people's employment and entrepreneurship. So when you say employment, that means that the learner will have their boss kasi they are being employed in an enterprise or the company. And entrepreneurship, that means that if you are an entrepreneur, that means that you are your own boss. You have your own business. So the main functions of TESDA are as follows. We have three. First, the competency standards development. We also have the competency assessment certification. And the third one, the program registration and accreditation. So let's focus first on the first one, which is the competency standards development. The test that develops competency standards for targets of education. Wait lang, sir, ha? Parang I forgot to record again.
It's recording na.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay, going back to the competency standards and development, the TESDA develops competency standards for targets of education, describing work by way of competency units. So competency units may be integrated into qualifications corresponding to relevant occupations and key jobs in the society, um, as well as the relevant grades in the Philippines, the TVET qualification framework. So the national training regulations, including competency standards, the training standards, and assessment process issued by the TESDA are the basis for competency assessment. The course setup and registration and certification of Tibet program. So since the TESDA is the one in charge in supervising the BET programs, they're also responsible in coming up with the competency units. I think ito na yung mga core. They have three actually per specialization. I can only remember the core ones because we are asked to memorize the core. So I think Sir can share.
Yeah, that's the basic, the common, and the core competencies.
Basic, common, and
Yeah.
core. Yeah, correct. Thank you for that, sir. So next we have the competency assessment and certification. So the test that assesses and certificates applicants competency mainly through the Philippine Tibet competency assessment and certification system to see if students have met relevant competency requirements. The TESDA has actually set up a special inquiry system. So they do provide certification information of people in various vocational fields nationwide. So the TESDA has also set up an assessment center and appraiser to provide competency assessment services to people applying for certification. Just like what our classmate told us the last meeting from Comtech, they also are an assessment center. So they do train the learners and then submit them if once they're ready, once they pass the institutional assessment, they're now ready for in acquiring the national certificate. So now let's focus to the third one, which is the program registration and accreditation. So Tibet institutions in the Philippines, whether public or private, have to complete compulsory registration with the United Tibet Program Registration and Accreditation System, which has set up for the purpose of ensuring the learners has reached the maximum standards required in the training regulations. So wherever they receive their training, thus ensuring the training quality, of course. Therefore, the TVET institutions should be registered with the TESDA before providing learners with training programs. So after completing all the registration steps, they will acquire a certificate of program registration, and this training program will be formally listed in the TESDA's register. So let's say if you are a learner and you want to find out if the assessment center is a registered one, then all you have to do is to visit any TESDA office and to inquire. Then, should any problem also arise in the training program of any complaint that is lodged against it, the TESDA will regulate and audit it. So, now let's proceed to the Philippines Qualification Framework. So, year 2012, the Philippine government promulgated the Philippines Qualification Framework. So, it aims...
For a while, Ms. Kiban, you will cover PQF? You will cover that? Or I suppose because my record shows that should
there
go
is an
for
assigned
Mr.
sir.
Gaspartan.
Okay, sir. I will skip that part. So maybe I could proceed to
by virtue of a Republic Act, right?
the challenges, sir, that the Tibet is facing in the Philippines.
Yeah. Anyway, you will not cover the full PQF.
So how about this, sir, the challenges? Am I supposed to discuss it today?
Yeah, okay lang yan. But
Okay.
the PQF, anyway, si Philippine Qualification Framework naman, which is now a law, merong naka-assign si Mr.
Okay, sir.
Gaspartan. Although I am checking my attendance, but Mr. Gaspartan is not present in the platform currently. So, sige lang, you just skip the PQF thing and then just proceed to the next part
Okay,
of
sir.
your
So,
presentation.
okay, so let's continue with the challenges that the Tibet is facing now in the Philippines. So, okay, so despite the substantive development of Tibet in the Philippines, the infrastructure of Tibet is yet to be strengthened. So the skilled workers have a low degree of international skills, thus lacking skill advantages among international competitors. People work tasks often mismatched with their level of skills. So, of the 10 competitive industries planned to develop in the Philippines, many skilled workers migrate to other industries at their level of skills and fail to reach the standards. So, yun nga, there is a accordingly, there is a mismatching of the training that the Tibet programs are giving and also the where they are currently enrolled. So most likely, hindi nagiging effective yon because there is no proper training to where are they working currently. So we also have the employment difficulties of the Tibet students. So as a Philippine society values degrees and diplomas of higher education more than Tibet, well, in reality, that is really the practice. And then the latter is generally regarded as inferior education. And the society does not fully realize the importance of Tibet to the labor market. So, besides the structural unemployment caused by mismatching of supply and demand, is found in the Philippines labor market. The qualification rate of Tibet graduate reaches 88.0%, but their employment rate is still at low rate of only 60.9%. So the graduates of Tibet faces a limited employment market. So which is largely caused by the poor quality of Tibet and the irrelevancy of school learning with enterprise and work practices. So my point on this part is that kasi it was stated a while ago na the kind of training that the Tibet programs will be offering will depends on the demand of the enterprises kasi they are much more focused on giving the exact training in order to align them to what is being offered in the enterprise and also to avoid mismatching. But in reality, um, like for example, in our school, since we although we're not a Tibet, we don't offer Tibet program, but in senior high school we also have the TBL tracks. So what we do offer depends on also on the demands of the learner. So, like for example, most of our students are SMAU students and also the UM strand. We also have most of the students are into ICT program wherein hindi naman talaga ganoon kalaki yung offering in the of the enterprises. Parang they do like that kasi most of the students they do like the SMAU kasi it's easy, they could easily cope up with the subjects that are being offered, parang ganun. So not really, reality wise, not really in line with what the enterprises are needing. So I think that's the end of my report. So if you have any question, you can freely ask.
Thank you, Ms. Kiban. So finally, you're done. I think at this point we can now get to entertain questions from the class. Of all those 19 present, there are a total of 19 of us, so you may start asking questions should you have any. I think si Miss Joy Kiban will be ever willing to share her wisdom to the class. Are there any? By the way, kindly take a documentation, Joy, over our meeting today. Kasi I just logged in via my mobile phone. I really could not have a full view, total view of all those present in one screen.
Do we need
Pakinalang,
do we need to
everyone kindly,
request camera camera
yeah,
on?
pakinalang switch on your
Switch on.
camera so we can get to have documentation muna for as an attachment to our claim later on. Then ipakisend na lang, Joy, later.
Yes,
Sabay
sir.
mo na doon sa recordings.
Okay.
Okay, everyone, kindly switch on your cam. Are we done? Na-capture mo na, Joy?
Not all cameras are on, sir.
Baka ta dormi sos. Daw, king saber. Oo, Miss Mary Lani, Angeline Venus, Annabel Rudas, Mr. Martin, Señora Milagros, and then Monel Cebedo, including Yen. Yen, naka-on na. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yung mga nakakarinig dyan, si Mary Lani, Annabel, and then finally si La Luna and Martin. Come on. Come on, guys. Mga camera shy man. So, pero si Martin, kuwan siya vlogger siya Okay, sige Joy. Okay na lang.
Okay, ready? 1, 2. Okay na, sir.
Smile.
Okay na po.
Thank you, Joy. Yeah, okay. It's time now for us to entertain questions. Are there any? Nito pal boses di Joy ta sige paladra konosi aman ste era daan kumigo taladra kiladra pa. Anyway, yeah. Just additional input, there are in the light of the offering in terms of textbook educations, Tibet programs. Our very own college is also offering Tibet programs. In fact, most of them are actually were issued certificate of program registration. This is under the deanship of Professor Rebelino Sanchez. Is the dean of the Institute of Technical Education, offering even certificate programs, including the ladderized diploma program, as what was highlighted earlier. Okay, our ladderized program actually is a 3-year program, ladderized siya leading to engineering courses. So we have one sample, which is civil engineering technology. So students enrolled in the program is a 3-year diploma program na ladderized. So the moment you end or complete your 3-year stint with the DT or the diploma program, you can practically proceed. So plus 2 more years, you're done with your civil engineering. So ganun po yung konsepto ng ladderized program, okay? So basically, it's practically way better than a full straight. Ano yung difference ni ladderized program starting with the diploma with a straight engineering program? In the light of the Philippine qualification framework and in consideration of the Washington Accord, including the Sydney Accord, meron siyang advantage because si students who pass through a ladderized diploma program are already equipped with at least a minimum of 5 certification. Pinakamababa na dyan yung 5. So given these 5 NCs, ang pinakamababa NC2 that you will, one student will get to have. So advantage siya over a straight engineering program because in the straight engineering program, students are not even required to submit themselves for accreditation. So basically ganun siya. Okay? So apart from our diploma program, meron din si Polytechnic offering 2-year associate in industrial technology program where graduates are expectedly when they exit will qualify for employment in the sector that they were enrolled. Okay, yun po yung certificate program. So, hindi lang na-highlight siguro ni Miss Kiban that our very own college is also offering mga TVET programs. Although we are not really supervised by TESDA, much that we are considered as an institution of higher learning. Although HEI tayo, however, we are still offering much that we were once a trade school, nag-umpisa as a trade school, um, we are still offering para lang to retain the identity of the college. We retain the offering of these certificate programs and mga diploma program. In fact, these diploma programs are now ladderized, leading to engineering courses according to the qualifications that they are enrolled. Okay, so we also have mechanical engineering technology. Again, is still a 3-year ladderized diploma program na after the 3-year program, pag ang bata opt to proceed to the engineering course, so plus 2 more years na lang. And then at the same time, yung mga bata na gustong magtrabaho na, pwede na because practically they will get to carry with them at least 5
Alex,
national certificates that will more or less get them for employment. Okay. However, all of these are supposed to pass the very tedious program registration and accreditation system of the TESDA. Okay? So if you will notice, merong presentation si Miss Kiban over the UTPRAS, the UTPRAS, UTPRAS. It's the Unified Tibet Program Registration and Accreditation System. So if you will search what UTPRAS is all about, masyado po siyang tedious, mabusisi. UTPRAS kasi is the system of program registration and accreditation of all Tibet offering, both private and public institutions. So basically, we look into several parameters gaya ng laboratories and facilities prior to the issuance of COPR or Certificate of Program Registration. Okay? So, kasi yung mga baccalaureate degrees, si CHED ang magbibigay, mag-issue. But they will not be issuing COPC, instead they will be issuing COPR. Si CHED kasi ang nag-i-issue ng COPC or Certificate of Program Compliance, while TESDA will be issuing, having passed the evaluation system of the TESDA, a particular institution offering these different qualifications will be issued COPR or Certificate of Program Registration. Now, what happens pag kayong offering ng particular private or public institutions, TVET programs that are not TESDA certified? Anong mangyayari? The graduates will not be recognized as a graduate per se of these certificate and diploma programs. So, when they will submit themselves for assessment para isyuhan ng NC1, NC2, so on and so forth, they will not be treated as a graduate of such institution. So, yun po yung medyo madehado yung bata when they will get to enroll in TTIs or TVIs offering these different certificate or diploma program that are not TESDA recognized. Okay? So, pwede pa rin mag-assessment, but they will be treated as a walk-in participant to the assessment process of the TESDA. So, yun yung mga issues. Okay? So, those are just additional inputs to the earlier presentation made by Miss Rosane pala ang pronunciation ng pangalan niya. Rosane Joy Kiban. Okay. However, it's a known fact na merong mga issues and challenges behind techbook education in the Philippines. And I'd like to highlight still on employment difficulties. In fact, this was already highlighted earlier that there is an obvious mismatch between what the industry needs and the skills that these different employees or workers are carrying with them. Kaya nga, you will notice merong mataas pa rin na employment mababa pa rin yung employment rate of the country in the light of this issue. Okay? In fact, you will notice even degree holders would not be hired as a regular employee of certain industry or enterprise unless they will have to pass through a learnership program. That was what was highlighted earlier, na dumadaan pa din sa learnership program. In fact, even I suppose in the field of medical sciences, like our nurses, hindi hinahire outright as a regular nurse ng certain hospital unless you will be made to take additional trainings, special trainings on certain areas, in fact, even as a volunteer work, just so you will be certified na meron ka na talagang certain skill competency that is relevant really to the world of work. So basically, if we will look in this particular scenario overall, collectively, you will see that there is somehow a problem or an issue in the light of the offering of higher education programs or even diploma or certificate program as supervised by TESDA. Okay? So, yun po yung scenario. And just an additional input, just so everybody present here in the platform will get to know, um, there was a presentation made earlier in passing as a matter of sample over the TVET programs offered in Kabasalan Institute of Technology. Si Kabasalan KIT dati, Kabasalan Institute of Technology is now changed into a different name kasi nag-convert na din sila into a local
CSPI.
college. Okay, Kosakel, Ryan, yeah, Mr. Martin, ano yun? Ano
Z
nang
is
pangalan ni
Z
Zamboanga,
is PI. Sambuanga
Zamboanga,
Sibugay
Sibugay Polytechnic
Polytechnic
Institute.
Institute.
Okay. As a Polytechnic Institute, hindi na sila KIT ha. As a Polytechnic Institute kasi local institute na siya, administered by the local government. However, their supervision and control is still under TESDA. Okay? TESDA pa rin supervise ha, kasi ayaw bitawan ni TESDA si Sambuanga Sibugay Polytechnic Institute. And just so you know, we are also offering our college, si ZCSPC, is also offering our extension of our program offering in ZSCPI. Okay. Meron na din po silang nag-o-offer na dati BTTE, Bachelor in Teaching Technical Education with the different majors. Oo, merong civil technology, merong electrical technology, so on and so forth with the 10 majors. Practically, yung mga graduates doon will get to bring TOR of CCSPC. Oo, yun po yun. Kasi it is an extension of our college with the KIT dati, now ZSCPI. Okay? So, yun po yun, and that's how it is. And in fact, we are also trying to revive our master's program with the ZSPI para for those who are with Sibugay, staying somewhere there in that Sibugay province, will no longer come over to the main campus for their masters and even their doctorate. Kasi about 10 years or so ago, there was already an offering, standing memorandum of agreement with KIT dati for the offering of the graduate program. In fact, there were already some graduates who completed their degree and earned their degree doon sa KIT. Okay? So that's it. Unless there are questions from the class, those who are present in the platform, baka you
Sir?
might... Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Yes,
Sir,
Mr. San Luis, go ahead.
I just want to ask, sir, no, regarding this TVL, sir, no? TVL being offered in basic education, sir, in DepEd, sir, no? For example,
Yeah,
sir,
yeah.
electrical track. Okay, so if the students, sir, completed this course, sir, no? So after assessment, sir, definitely he will be given, no? If he passed the assessment, he will be given NC2. Okay, so
Mm-mm.
ano yung pagkakaiba, sir, if he will continue to for example, sir, sa polytechnic, sir, 'di ba, ino-offer ng polytechnic yung electrical technology.
Mm-mm.
Yes, sir. And then what if he decides na ay hindi na siya magko-continue sa yung additional 2 years para magiging electrical engineering, so technology lang. So after the assessment, sir, if he pass, he NC3 na ba yun, sir?
Yeah, actually ganito po yan. In the migration of this national certification, in the light of the Philippine Qualification Framework, doon sa level 5 and up, PQF level 5, level 6, level 7, meron na siyang mga iba na yung certification system that the moment you will have your assessment, you will not be filing for a certain NC level. Okay? Unlike before, you will be filing for an assessment, let's say EIM NC2. Ganun dati, but no longer true now. Kasi the assessor, after the assessee, yung examinee, after undergoing the assessment process of the TESDA, you will be certified, let's say NC3 in a particular qualification or NC4 in a particular qualification the moment you meet mga competency standards. Okay? So yun po yung system of assessment. Now, in the light of senior high graduates, let's say graduate of EIM and the holder of EIM NC2 during senior high school, and then the bata decided to proceed the same course, BS Electrical Technology, let's say in Polytechnic, meron pong system of crediting the earned units of the bata. Okay? So para siyang badge or merit system, although hindi pa siya very clear as to the guidelines, implementing rules and guidelines on how we will go about this. Kasi other private TVIs and TTIs are having issues with this, and every time we attend conventions, forum over mga association of TTIs and TVIs, diyan kami nagkakaproblema. We always have issues kasi sila will always run after the fees, the collection. Kasi kung i-credit daw lahat, ano pa yung mako-collect ng mga private TVIs? Okay, so yun yung issue, and many times we are having problems reconciling from the perspective, from our end kasi, from the perspective of a public HEI versus the perspective and how people with the private TVIs are looking at the situation. So basically siguro the challenge is for the higher echelon to really address this issue so that these tri-party agencies looking into the education of the country will reconcile. Kasi sila mismo hindi nagkakasundo. TESDA will push for this while DepEd will stick by their system, and then the CHED will also stick by their own. Okay, so that's practically the issue. In fact, there are other issues behind offering also of TVL track in the basic ed, where basically and originally when RA 10533 was conceived, exit point of senior high schoolers will be a two-prong parang purpose, where should a graduate of a grade 12 would opt to work, ready na siya for the world of work. Or the other option being, should the bata, grades senior high graduate, would go for a higher education degree, then pwede din, match that, kompleto naman siya. However, the issue will come out when the bata, a graduate of a senior high school, will opt to go for work or for employment. One issue could be the age and the skill competency that the bata is carrying with him or with her, na hindi pa siya relevant to the industry need. In fact, babalikan natin, or that will point back to the issue of the mismatch as a matter of employment difficulty among TVL or TVET graduates. Again, the problem has been in place since time immemorial, and until now, they are still addressing such issue so that they will be able more or less to reconcile provisions of the TESDA charter, that of the CHED, and even that of the DepEd will come into unison so that we will be able more or less as a country to address such very low employment rate. Yun po yung bigger picture, and that's the real thing as to what is happening currently and how we go about